Welcome back, everybody. It's just me this time. Let's hope for a bit of a return to normalcy around here. Not that shaking it up every now and again is bad. It's just that the situation and circumstances regarding last video were a little unfortunate. It's time to, reap the fruits of our labor from our foray into the demon ruins and turn in some upgrades and reapportion some Estus.
Well, Matt, 'tis good to see ye in good health. What needs smithing this day?
In addition to the shards, we also have a large number of Titanite upgrades that we received earlier, just because that's sort of the nature of the place. It sucks, but if you want to go there for upgrade materials, it's not a bad idea. Reacquainting myself with the interface a little bit, trying and failing to find my Executioner's Greatsword. Remembering to my not insubstantial sorrow that I can't actually infuse the Greatsword with anything.
Pretty be careful. I don't want...
In addition, we have several pyromancy tombs to turn over to Cornix here.
Ah, there you are, unkindled one. I am pleased to have a pupil as dedicated as you. What have we here? A pyromancy tome from Izalith. Then you found the home of pyromancy. Brilliant! I will never curse being old and undead again. Now, show it here, quickly. Let us channel them together. The primal pyromancy is known only to old Master Salaman.
For turning this in, we learn Chaos Storm and Great Chaos Fire Orb. Chaos Fire Orb is far and away the more useful pyromancy here, though Chaos Storm does have its uses, occasionally, if you don't mind collateral damage.
What have we here? By the gods, this inscription reads, Quelana, the ancient deity, one of the witches of Izalith. The last of them who wandered the lands. Then she must have returned to Izalith after all. But I regret to say, I cannot accept this. Quelana's pyromancies are for witches and must be learned from a mistress. But thank you for allowing me to peer upon such a thing. If only I were a woman. Huh.
Well, you are a great help. Evidently, there must be somebody else we can turn this tome into. But we have yet to find her.
Do not be gone for long.
What is it?
Just checking in with Orbeck.
Perfect timing, too. I'm in need of a diversion.
Soul Greatsword is a fairly useful sorcery. I think we'll pick it up here.
Promise to stay safe.
That should more or less wrap up the maintenance things we need to do before heading back onto the breach. We are regrettably not yet entirely done with Smouldering Lake. There's a couple more things to do. And of course we eventually have to deal with the boss of the catacombs proper. Now, in our last exploration of the lake, we do have to deal with crabs. So I do want to outfit myself accordingly. Crabs are quite weak to fire. And with Great Chaos Fire Orb and Chaos Bed Vestiges, and I apologize if I end up calling that Forbidden Sun at any point because it's a much catchier name that rolls off the tongue much better, we should be well equipped. I guess I'll level up a little.
Welcome home, Ashen will speak then. Very well, then touch take nothing.
We are getting to the point where our build is starting to take off. We have a reasonable amount of intelligence and faith accrued, though we won't really start doing a lot of damage until we get up to about 30 of each. Unlike previous games, pyromancy is definitely something that requires significant investment in stats to get a lot of mileage out of. Which, in a way, makes sense. It was a little bit, it almost had too much utility in Dark Souls 1. For any build to be able to get a lot out of pyromancy just by upgrading the flame. At any rate, we are equipped with two of the most powerful pyromancies in the game at this point. If you want to go into the whole flame wizardry thing, then it's definitely, though regrettably, worth it to go to Smouldering Lake and the Demon Ruins to pick up those pyromancy tomes and fight the old Demon King. We can now explore this area pretty much with complete impunity since there's no longer any giant ballista firing giant bolts at us. The sandworm is also dead. And for our troubles, we get more free large titanite shards. At this point in the game, those are still a very useful and valuable commodity because we can't buy them yet. And even if we could, they would cost a fairly significant chunk of souls for each one, so freebies are always appreciated. It's so nice and quiet down here now. Ah, silence. Even though we are fairly well equipped to dealing with crabs, we still don't want to aggro the whole lot of them. That would be bad. So a slightly surreptitious route might be better suited for this endeavor. Circling around from the back so we can get one attention at a time. It is at this point that I have learned that I have made a grievous error. These are Lord of Cinder crabs, and they do not give a shit about fire. This changes my plans considerably. They're still not too difficult to deal with because I have a fairly heavy weapon that can stagger them fairly consistently. But there's still like 5 or 6 of these things left to cut through, and without powerful pyromancy to do so, maybe stealth is the better option after all. The last really major thing to do in Smouldering Lake is up here. In addition to a couple of freebie crystal lizards, we will find somebody we've been searching for. Just barely. It's our dear friend Horace the Husk, except he's mad at us for some reason. Presumably he's gone hollow, having been separated from his friend Henri. He has no specific resistance to fire, so Sorry, friend. It's better this way. He drops the Lulululun shield, which is a holdover from Dark Souls 2. It's one of the stronger parrying shields in the game. As you might have noticed before, Great Chaos Fire Orb has a bit of an effect. In addition to just doing flat damage upon hit, it also leaves behind a puddle of molten lava, which will do additional damage if the enemy steps into it. This actually increases its damage to beyond what Chaos Bed Vestiges can do, if the stars align to get both hits in. It's an interesting dynamic between the two spells. Vestiges is much easier to use, travels faster, has longer range, and comes out a little faster too. However, it costs more FP and does less damage under optimal conditions. Chaos Fire Orb, on the other hand, is much more difficult to use to its full effect, has shorter range, does less well against differing elevations, and comes out slower, but has a higher damage cap and costs less, meaning that if you can consistently get it off properly, you will get more damage out of it over time. Fire Orb tends to be more useful against bosses and enemies that are stationary and large. Though with some judicious use, you can use it effectively against even agile enemies if you learn their tells for when they're going to stand still for a little bit. Usually during an attack or something. There is one more item to get here, and I'm not especially keen on fighting all of these crabs with just my greatsword. So I'm going to go for a bit of a loot and scoot. Our reward for this sneaky endeavor is the Chaos Gem. The Chaos Gem can be used to infuse a weapon with the Chaos attribute, which gives fire damage and considerable intelligence and faith scaling. A Chaos infusion would actually be perfect for this build. However, Wolnir does not yet have the proper coal to be able to do this infusion, so we'll have to wait a little bit. Just making one last sweep of the area to make sure I haven't missed anything. I don't believe I have, but I've been known to make mistakes before. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised if my subconscious was egging me on to get out of this place as quickly as possible. But, knock on wood, it appears that we are done with the Smouldering Lake. And we are nearly done with Catacombs of Carthus as a whole. Spells in general are not too useful against the next boss, so I'm just sort of attuning a bunch of things, just to have, in case. A nice spread of elemental damage. We've got magic, we've got fire, we've got lightning, and we have the most powerful element, Healy. Now, because the rickety bridge that we used to get down here respawns upon area load, we can't actually get back up to where we need to go from here. We need to actually warp to a different bonfire entirely. Which is sort of annoying, because this bonfire is actually closer in terms of geographic distance to our destination. We need to backtrack a bit to the central bonfire of the area before we can actually get anywhere. Oh, I miss the Boulder of Bones. And it misses me, apparently. With the Executioner's Greatsword and a functioning frame rate, even the Carthus rogues are not evidently very difficult. It's easy enough to stunlock them. I might summon this guy, but he looks kind of like a nerd. So close to the one-shot on these skeletons. If only I had a little bit more strength. But I cannot dilute the build. Not at this point. Briefly demoing Soul Greatsword. It's basically a large AoE swipe that does sorcery damage. Henri.
Oh, Horace, where have you run off to? Have you abandoned me? No, what a horrible thought.
Some things are better left unknown. Provided that Horace is dead, you can tell Henri about his whereabouts without, any real ill effect. But sometimes it's kinder not to know. If he's still alive when you tell him, though, he will actually die, because Horace will kill him. And they will both go hollow. Also looks like a nerd. Let's move on. Her Fashion Souls is not nearly good enough to feature on this LP, thank you very much. I've noticed that there's a lot of touching things that really should not be touched in this game. But for better or for worse, we appear to have chosen poorly. Place is dark. Spooky. It's probably the abyss. Hello! Alright, so this is High Lord Wolnir, and High Lord Wolnir is a joke. This is barely a boss fight if you know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, it's sort of annoying until you figure it out, because he has deadly toxic skeleton gas. What you're supposed to do is immediately make a bum rush for his golden bracelets. Destroying them will do a huge chunk of health damage to him. Otherwise, if you just chip away at his arms and face, you do basically no damage. He's already almost dead. I actually sandbag for a little bit here, just so I can try and show up what he does, but he's a very uninteresting boss. Which is a shame, because he looks really cool. Most of his attacks are just swiping with his big arms. They're fairly easy to dodge because they're so slow. It's better to go unlocked for most of this fight. He doesn't move around very much. And you'll usually lock onto his face, which is like, who cares? The one thing to note about his attacks is that they do have quite a bit of reach. This is also one of the very few bosses in the entire series to have an enrage. If you take too long, he will get too close, and the deadly skeleton gas will become unavoidable, and you will die. After a while, he will start summoning skeleton servants to help him, but even though they regenerate after a while, they also will just immediately die. His last attack, which you could sort of see there, is summoning his holy sword, but I don't know, I got bored. Sorry. When you destroy his 3 bracelets, he dies and is dragged back into the abyss by something. Wolnir is a nice spectacle, but he doesn't really do anything. For all the setup and cool stuff that goes on in the fight, it's just like, whatever. Missed opportunities. It's certainly very memorable when you first see his giant face appear. But with Wolnir's fall, we are finally free of the catacombs. It will be nice, if nothing else, to get some fresh air. This is also one of the most visually striking area transitions in the entire series. Welcome to Irithyll, the Boreal Valley. We've heard of this place off and on a couple times, but now we finally have the opportunity to explore it in all of its frigid splendor. It's sort of like if Yharnam got a snow day. But that will have to wait until next time. This episode was a little bit awkward because we didn't really do much, but it was necessary. Next time we'll delve into Irithyll's secrets and talk to a couple people along the way. Until then, I wish you good fortune.